All right, so we've got a really fascinating collection of words and expressions that we're going to dive into today.
Yeah.
Get ready to unlock some secrets about elope, beguile, wind up,
Hmm.
and euphoria. We're going to explore their origins and maybe uncover some surprising connections to history and storytelling along the way.
Yeah.
And we'll even make sure you walk away with some memorable ways to remember these words so
Yeah.
you can use them right away.
What I think is fascinating is how these words, while seemingly simple, can evoke such powerful images and emotions.
Yeah.
And as we'll discover, their origins often reveal even more about their true meanings.
Okay, let's dive right in with elope.
Okay.
When you hear that word, what do you picture?
Uh, I think of a couple
Yeah.
dashing off for a secret wedding.
Yeah, like maybe under the Eiffel Tower or on a moonlit beach.
Absolutely.
There's definitely a romantic, almost rebellious feeling to it, right?
There is.
Like sneaking away.
You've hit on something interesting there.
Okay.
It makes you think about how much our ideas about marriage have changed.
Hmm.
The word elope comes from the Anglo-Norman eloper, meaning to leap.
Okay.
But initially, it was about running away from any responsibility, not just a prearranged marriage.
So the word itself evolved alongside our views on love and marriage. It
Oh,
went from a general running away to specifically running away to get hitched.
exactly.
Yeah.
That shift in meaning speaks volumes about how marriage was perceived over time.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
It points to a transition from arranged marriages and family obligations to a greater emphasis on individual choice and romantic love.
That's pretty cool how one word can reveal so much about social history.
I know, right?
To really solidify elope in our minds, how about we imagine a couple leaping into a new life together?
I like that.
Yeah.
It captures that sense of escape and the bold decision to commit.
Right.
And it's interesting to consider synonyms like abscond or flee.
Yeah.
They all share that idea of a sudden, decisive break from something.
All right, you mentioned beguile. Have you ever been beguiled by a story that turned out to be too good to be true? That's the kind of feeling this word evokes for me, charm, enchantment,
Yeah.
but with a hint of deception lurking beneath the surface.
That duality is woven right into the word's origin.
Oh.
Beguile traces back to the Old French word beguiler, which is connected to guile, meaning deceit.
Right.
So there's a sense of being captivated,
Yeah.
perhaps even tricked by someone using their charm.
So beguile has this fascinating blend of charm and trickery built right into its DNA.
Yes.
It makes you think of those charismatic figures throughout history who could sway entire crowds with their words. But it can also be much more subtle, right?
Absolutely.
Like just one-on-one.
Think about con artists or even that friend who can talk you into anything with their irresistible charm.
Oh, yeah.
Beguile is all around us, playing out in everyday interactions as well as on grander stages.
To capture that captivating yet potentially misleading quality picture, a beggar in disguise. You have the bee from beguile and the guile representing the trickery.
That's a great way to remember it.
Yeah.
You think you're encountering someone harmless,
Right.
but they might be using their charm to their advantage.
And of course, beguile can also simply mean to pass time pleasantly.
It can.
It's like being so engrossed in a good book that you completely lose track of time.
Yeah.
Like you could say a beautiful sunset is enchanting,
Right.
but would you say a politician is enchanting their audience? Or is that getting closer to that trickery side of beguile?
Now, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
It really highlights the spectrum of meaning within beguile, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It can be delightful and harmless,
Right.
but it can also be used with more calculated intentions.
Okay, ready to shift gears a bit?
Yeah.
Let's talk about wind up.
Okay.
It feels more grounded, less whimsical than the first two.
Right.
It makes me think about those moments when you look back and realize how a series of choices led you to a particular place or situation.
You're right. It does have that sense of arriving at a final state,
Yeah.
often as a result of a series of events.
Yeah.
It's not about the journey itself, but where you end up after all is said and done. And that's connected to its origin, the physical act of winding something up,
Okay.
like a clock.
Like winding a clock.
You're setting things in motion toward a specific outcome.
I see the connection.
Yeah.
It's like winding up your life towards a particular destination or result, even if you don't always know what that will be in advance.
And it's not always about a grand plan, right? Sometimes we wind up somewhere we never intended to be despite our best efforts.
That's true.
Yeah.
So it's about both intention and consequence, wouldn't you say?
It is.
Like you might say, if you keep spending recklessly, you'll wind up in debt.
Right.
Or,
Right.
despite all the planning, we wound up taking a completely different route.
Those are great examples.
Yeah.
The analogy of winding thread into a neat ball can also be helpful here.
Okay.
You start with something loose and tangled, but through a process of effort and attention, you end up with something organized and complete.
I love that visual.
Yeah.
It shows how our actions and choices can wind us up in certain situations,
Exactly.
both positive and negative.
Wind up can have both positive and negative connotations depending on the context.
All right, we've explored running away, charming trickery, and the twists and turns of fate.
Yeah,
Ready for a little dose of pure joy?
I am.
Let's talk about euphoria.
Okay.
This word evokes pure happiness and excitement, like you're riding on a wave of pure bliss.
Yeah.
Winning a lottery, falling in love, achieving a lifelong dream. Those are the kinds of experiences that trigger euphoria.
You've painted a perfect picture.
Have I?
And the word itself has a surprisingly unexpected origin.
Oh.
It comes from the Greek euphoros, meaning bearing well.
Bearing well.
Imagine that.
I never would have guessed that connection.
It is surprising, isn't it? Euphoria was initially used in a medical context, describing patients who seem to be coping well with their ailments,
Oh, wow.
even thriving despite their circumstances.
So the idea of bearing well morphed into this feeling of overwhelming happiness and well-being.
Exactly.
Wow. It really shows how language evolves over time.
It does.
Yeah.
And now we use euphoria to describe that peak emotional state, that feeling of being on top of the world.
To capture that intense joy, that feeling of pure bliss. Imagine a euphoric symphony, playing in your mind a symphony of all the sounds and sensations that make you feel truly happy. Like every cell in your body is vibrating with joy.
I love that imagery.
Yeah.
It really encapsulates the all-encompassing nature of euphoria.
And you know, we often associate euphoria with these grand, life-changing events.
They do.
But I think it's important to remember that euphoria can be found in the everyday, too.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as a beautiful sunset,
Yeah.
a delicious meal, or a moment of connection with someone you love. These little bursts of joy are just as valuable as the big ones.
And don't forget those synonyms like elation, jubilation, and rapture.
Right.
They all add different shades of meaning to this incredible feeling.
They do.
Yeah.
They help us appreciate the full spectrum of emotions associated with euphoria.
Yeah.
It's amazing how exploring with just a few words can uncover so much about history, culture, and even our own experiences.
Absolutely. And speaking of uncovering things, you know what else I find fascinating?
What's that?
The way these words connect to each other.
Uh-huh.
Like imagine someone so beguiled by another person that they decide to elope.
Oh, wow.
It's a story waiting to happen, wouldn't you say?
I love that.
Yeah.
It reminds us that these words, while distinct in their meanings,
Right.
can intertwine to create narratives
Yeah.
and shape our understanding of the world.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe that elopement leads to a lifetime of euphoria, or maybe it winds up in a completely unexpected way.
See, it's all connected.
It is.
Like a linguistic web with each word holding its own unique meaning, but also linking to others in surprising ways.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, are there any other words out there that you think have particularly fascinating origins?
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah,
Language is a treasure trove of hidden gems.
it is.
But one that always captivates me is serendipity. It beautifully describes the idea of making fortunate discoveries by chance.
Okay.
And the origin itself is like a fairy tale,
Oh.
stemming from an old Persian tale about three princes who were always stumbling upon unexpected good fortune.
That's amazing.
It is.
It's like the word itself embodies that sense of happy accidents and unexpected blessings.
Right.
It makes you want to be more open to those chance encounters and see where they lead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most wonderful things in life happen when we least expect them. And that open-minded curiosity is key, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It makes me want to go on a word hunt, digging into dictionaries and etymological resources to uncover more of these linguistic treasures.
Yeah, who knows what we might find.
Exactly.
Maybe we should try our hand at a little wordplay inspired by the 4 words we've explored today.
Okay.
Ready for a challenge?
I'm always up for a linguistic challenge.
All right, how about this? Let's imagine a character who, after a long and winding journey, filled with both beguiling encounters and moments of euphoria, ultimately decides to elope, leaving behind everything they once knew.
That's a fantastic prompt.
Is
It has all the elements of a compelling narrative.
Yeah.
adventure romance, and a touch of mystery.
Right.
It could be a story of escaping a mundane existence,
Uh-huh.
chasing a dream, or even fleeing from something dangerous.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless.
They are.
And I love how the prompt leaves room for interpretation.
Right.
What does that winding journey mean for this particular character?
Yeah.
Who or what beguiled them along the way?
Right.
And ultimately, what does their elopement signify? Freedom, desperation, or something else entirely?
That's the question. It's like we've planted a seed, and now it's up to each individual to let their imagination blossom.
And that's the beauty of language.
Yeah.
It's not just a tool for communication. It's a source of endless creativity and inspiration.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks.
Well, we've journeyed from secret weddings to charming deceptions, explored the twists and turns of fate, and even basked in the glow of pure euphoria.
We have.
I hope you feel as energized by this exploration as I do.
I do.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought.
Okay.
We've seen how much history, nuance, and even storytelling power is packed into just these 4 words. Now imagine the vast universe of language out there,
Wow.
with millions of words waiting to be discovered and understood.
It really is an awe-inspiring thought.
Yeah.
Each word holds its own unique story,
Yeah.
its own fascinating journey through time and culture.
Right.
It's like an invitation to keep learning and exploring, don't you think?
Absolutely. It reminds me of that childlike wonder we all have for discovering new things.
Yeah.
So I encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep expanding your vocabulary.
Great advice.
You never know what hidden gems you might unearth along the way.
You never know.
And who knows, maybe you'll even discover a new word that sparks your imagination and leads you on an unexpected adventure of your own.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
It would.
The possibilities are endless when we embrace the power of language.
That's a perfect note to end on.
It is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of elope, beguile, wind up, and euphoria.
My pleasure.
Until next time, happy wordsmithing.
You know, after that little wordplay exercise, I'm feeling even more energized by this whole exploration.
Yeah, me too.
It's amazing how just a few words can spark so much creativity and get us thinking in new ways.
It is.
Don't you think?
Absolutely. It's a reminder that language isn't just about conveying information.
Right.
It's about igniting our imaginations and connecting with each other on a deeper level. I completely agree, and I think that's what makes these deep dives so rewarding. We're not just learning definitions, we're uncovering stories, connections, and a deeper appreciation for the way we use language to express ourselves.
Well said. It's like we're piecing together a giant linguistic puzzle.
Yeah.
And each word we explore adds a new layer of understanding to the bigger picture.
Speaking of the bigger picture, I've been pondering something.
Okay.
Do you think understanding the origins and evolution of words actually helps us communicate more effectively? Or is it just interesting trivia?
That's a great question. I'm convinced that knowing the backstory of a word gives you a deeper appreciation for its nuances.
Uh-huh.
We see how its usage has shifted over time, how it's been shaped by culture and history.
Right.
That awareness allows you to choose words with greater precision and impact.
It's like becoming a more mindful communicator, right?
Oh.
We're not just throwing words around, we're considering their weight and how they resonate with others.
Precisely. And beyond that, I think understanding word history fosters empathy.
Oh.
It reminds us that language is constantly evolving, adapting to new ideas and experiences. When we trace those evolutionary paths,
Yeah.
we get a glimpse into the minds of those who came before us, how they viewed the world, and made sense of it through language.
Wow.
It connects us to the past in a really powerful way.
That's such a beautiful way to think about it, each word carrying a little piece of human history, a whisper from the past that echoes in the present.
Exactly. And by tuning into those whispers, by understanding the stories behind the words we use every day, we enrich not only our vocabulary, but also our understanding of humanity itself.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for the power and beauty of language.
Me too. It's a reminder that words are more than just tools for communication.
Right.
They're living, breathing entities with fascinating histories, personalities, and an incredible capacity to shape the way we think and feel.
Beautifully said. Well, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into the world of elope, beguile, wind up, and euphoria. I hope you've enjoyed this linguistic adventure with us.
I have. It's been a pleasure exploring the intricate tapestry of language with you.
And remember, the journey doesn't end here.
No, it doesn't.
There's a whole universe of words out there waiting to be discovered. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep letting the magic of language inspire you.
Great advice.
Who knows what fascinating discoveries you'll make along the way?
Perhaps you'll uncover a word so captivating it leads you on a completely unexpected adventure.
Now, wouldn't that be exciting? Until next time, happy wordsmithing.